Hello, everybody. Thanks for this opportunity. I'm Stan Thekaekara, and I come from the Nilgiris in Tamil Nadu, close to Ooty, and we work with the Adivasis in the Gudalur Valley in 2 talukas. We started a few years, about 25 years ago, in 1984. And I am assuming that all of you all by now are PowerPointed out. Because from morning, so we don't have a PowerPoint. We just have a few images to give you a flavor of what the place and the community that we work look like. Because you would have seen enough and more PowerPoints. Basically, Accord started out working on the land rights of the Adivasis, but then we moved into health, education, economic development, and so on, the works. But at the heart of our work is a community organization called the AMS. Oops, sorry, my phone is ringing. If you just excuse me, this is a bit urgent and I need to take this. I'm sorry about this, but we are talking about mobiles. Hello? Yeah. Oh, okay. This is a call from Gudalur, and we have a group of Adivasi school children who would like to sing a song for you. Is that okay? All right. So that's what we have now. Okay, then, go ahead. Thank you. Can you give them a big round of applause for that? Thanks a lot. Thank you, children.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, that was a group of tribal children in a remote village in South India, close to a forested near the Mudumalai Wildlife Sanctuary. And here, in Delhi, in a 5-star hotel, in the capital of the country, their voice was just heard. That, my friends, is the power of mobile technology. And what we are interested in is not the technology part of it. We are interested in the power part of it. Some time back, a US Supreme Court judge was asked to define poverty. And his very wise answer was, I can't define it, but I know it when I see it. And today, if you ask me to define power, I can't define it, but I know it when I see it. And the last few years, carrying this mobile in my pocket, I have come to know that there is power here. And so what we are talking about is how to use this power for a group of people who are completely excluded from all that happens around us, on all the developments of the world. And so we in Gudalur, we have a hospital, we have a school, and we are collecting such a lot of information. And we are not the only people who are collecting information. We have researchers, we have the government, we have everybody coming and collecting information about the tribals. But all this information about them goes from them and goes away, and they don't even know where it goes. They don't know who's going to use it. They don't know how it's going to be used. It's like the coal and the iron ore that's going out of tribal areas. It's all extractive. It's all one way. Even we as an NGO, we collect information about them. Like for instance, a health animator or a nurse goes down to the village and we monitor every single under 5 child. She weighs the child, she gets the weight, she writes it somewhere in a diary or somewhere, comes to the office the next day. If she remembers, she'll enter into the register. Once a month, she makes a report that's sent to our hospital. And there somebody sometime enters it onto a computer, and we have a database about the under 5 children. The education coordinator goes in and is tracking the children who are going to school, their attendance, their dropout. And this similar kind of process goes on. And it finally goes up and sits in some database somewhere on some computer. people don't own this information. People don't control this information. And yet, this information is power. And when we started our work in the 80s, and I come from a very different background, I'm not a techie person, and I come from a political background, and we are used to creating trouble. We are the rabble-rousers who stop your lice cars when you're driving on the street and have hartals and roadblocks and protest against injustice. And 20 years ago, that worked. 20 years ago, we brought 10,000 people on the streets of Gudalur to protest for their land rights. But today, when we do that, the government turns around and says, but where's the evidence? When we protested last year, about 9 crores that were assigned for the tribals of the Nilgiri district, and protested about the use of that money, the government said, no, we've used it, we've done this, we've done that. Where's the evidence it was not used? And that evidence is sitting somewhere, but the people don't have access to it. So this whole idea that we have is that the people collect information, people store the information, people process the information, and people, and when I say people, I mean the community, they use the information in ways they want to use it. And so practically, I gave you the example of the under 5. Now instead of going and putting it into a register, the moment she weighs the child, she uploads it on a mobile. And we have developed the mobile app for it. That goes straight away to the server the moment there's connectivity. And now, if an antenatal requires a checkup, she can get an SMS saying that you're due for a checkup. If a tribal who's saving money, like what Valerie just talked about with the mobile banking, we have a similar kind of thing, but we're a little different because we are not tied up with the State Bank of India, we are creating our own cooperative bank. But if somebody has a bank account, opens money, they can use the mobile to find out how much money they have. And one project where we have piloted this and rolled it out is in a tea leaf marketing cooperative that we have started some years back, where again every day the truck goes out, collects leaves from the Adivasis, a bill is written, a receipt is written, then all that's collected. At the end of the day, a sales statement is made. Next day, that's given to the office, and if the accountant there has time, they enter it. It goes into a computer and everything like that. And the same data is handled about 5 times. And so the chances of error and inaccuracy is very, very high. And every month there is this whole tension because the data with the tribal and the data with the office very often don't match. But today, this is something we rolled out a few months ago and has successfully run for a few months. And that's what we have been shortlisted for. The moment the leaf is collected, it's entered onto this mobile app. And when the truck comes back in the evening, the office is closed, but the Wi-Fi is on. So they use the Wi-Fi through the internet, they upload the data. Next day, if the farmer comes to the office wanting an advance on the leaf that they have supplied, we have live data there. The next step is he will have evidence of it in his own mobile. So he can also come there with evidence. But all this hinges around, sorry, I dropped this. All this hinges around creating a unique ID, which we did some years ago. We were far ahead of Aadhaar. Every single one of our tribals have a unique ID number. But what we have done now is to actually give them an ID card, which has a QR code. And so instead of having this data stored in different silos, in different computers, or in different registers, in different cupboards all over the place, all the information is stored in one place linked to the ID of the person. And this allows the community to then decide who they want to give access to for the information. How much of access do they want to give? And they control and own that information. I want to make one last point regarding this, is that you heard a lot about empowerment. In fact, I think it's somewhere here, mobiles for empowerment. The problem with this is that I have found, and even today when I was hearing about it, listening to many people talking today, we think of empowering the individual because the mobile is a device. And the device is in the hands of an individual. And we think the power is going to the individual because of this mobile. I'm not interested in that. Because the device is not the issue. It's the technology, it's the network. It's not the node, it's the network. And we are interested in empowering communities, not individuals. In fact, individuals, because of the mobile, could become vulnerable. And I'll tell you how in our area people have become vulnerable. You have won the lottery. You are getting a free Honda bike. Please send your details to this. Our Adivasis don't know how to put the DNC, say do not disturb, don't get these scam calls. They answer, they send back an SMS, they think. You don't know the number of our people who do get scammed. We actually have 3 cases in court about this. So making the individual is actually dangerous. It actually increases the vulnerability. Because now you can allow somebody in Nigeria to access a tribal in our village. So we are looking at community empowerment, where this is a community in information infrastructure, where if the Seva model has to work, if everything has to work, we have to answer the question, who owns the information? Who owns it? Without answering that question, and just collecting information and putting it up there for anybody to use, whether it's the government, whether it's a bank, whether it's an NGO, whether it's a researcher who's going to get a PhD on tribal development, whoever it is, this is questionable. So we are looking through using the mobile to put the information in the hands of the community, give them the power to use it. So for us, technology and mobile technology is a tool, like a spade. And you can use the spade to dig a grave. You can use the spade to bury gold, and which is what I think by and large everybody uses the technology for. They want to just accumulate more and more gold. So we use the tool to accumulate even more gold. Or you can use the tool, you can use the spade to plant a seed. And that's how we would like to use it. We would like to use it to plant a seed for a tree that will be nurtured and will grow, where the fruits of the tree will be enjoyed by all, because it will be common property. And not to make this private property, not to make it proprietary, but to make it open source, make it common property, and let the people who cannot use this, who do not use this today, let them have the right, the privilege, and the power to use this technology for their own good, for their own social change, and to give them the bargaining and negotiating power with the government. And that's where we are at, and we want to see this as a tool to really create power for the Adivasis in Gudlur. And if this will work, no, let me take the if out. When this works, let me say, when we can have the proof, when none of you can challenge me with, oh, but how does this stack up, how does that stack up? We would like to make this available to anybody who wants to use it. But the bottom line is, or the foundation would be, they would have to be like Seva, like us, they would have to be organizations of people. That's the only way it will work. Without that, starting from scratch, it will be very difficult. And for this, whole idea came up because one young man, who's a cinematographer, but in his spare time likes to make mobile applications, by accident got to know us, came and met us, and we started talking, and I said, hey, why don't you try and do this? And in his spare time, he has developed this whole thing. So I just want to introduce Ram, who's sitting there at the back, who's the man behind having developed all this, and Suresh, who's from the Mulukurumba tribe, who's fairly self-taught as far as computers go, who actually developed the entire ATLM, the Adivasi tea leaf marketing rollout that we did, was designed and developed by him with support from Ramshias. And so he, along with his community members, is proof that the community can and the community will take over, take control, and stay with power using this technology. Thank you very much.